Hello everyone, this is Nursky and welcome to this cast of Starcraft 2 on behalf of Mods Online. That is right, going to be having some Starcraft 2 here on Mods Online now. First off, spawning as the pink Protoss in this best of 3 series is going to be VP Gamer's Jemag. And his opponent for this best of 3 series, spawning over here as the red Terran on the map, MLG Shakir's Plateau, is going to be Complexity Gaming's Drewbie. This is a best of 3 series that these two players did play. Actually got a chance to cast some of these games live when they were happening. I'll be doing a little bit of a recast here of them on my own. You can see both the players doing a bit of height measuring here. Looks like Drewbie's just a tiny bit taller than Jemag. We'll see if that ends up making any difference in the game. Likely not to, especially since most of Koreans, who are probably 5 nothing, are some of the best players in the game. So we do see Jemag is going to be scouting out here pretty early what Drewbie's up to. He's going to see exactly what's going on in his base. First barracks going up. Important to note on MLG Shakir's Plateau, unlike the latter edition of the map, as you do see some harassment here with the workers, that you do have a low ground supply depot. That's the addition to this map out of the norm. So it does stop the Terran from walling off on the low ground, which is a pretty big deal because he can't really deny scouting as easily. See Jemag still trying to keep that probe in Drewbie's base as long as he can. Slows Drewbie's builds down a little bit. Now I do see Drewbie is going to be taking relatively fast gas, so going to be doing some tech, not going to be doing any kind of a super fast expander or anything like that. Going to start his first Marine. He'll finally be able to get this probe out of his base so he can start his build without Jemag knowing exactly what he's doing. So Jemag just going to retreat his drone out of there. Get a couple of hits in on this SCVs while he's at it. Drewbie going to scout out where Jemag is at. Jemag does have his first gateway down and the cybernetics core going down as well. Just one gas, so real standard stuff right now in Jemag's base. Hasn't really shown anything yet. Undoubtedly going to wait until he finishes this cybernetics core and gets out the first zealot and stalker before he shows too much. But interestingly enough, going to be putting down a pretty fast second gateway, which is a little uncharacteristic. Since normally as a Protoss player you want to wait until you get out your first stalker before you actually start showing your build to your opponent. Unless of course you're trying to trick your opponent into thinking you're doing something that you're not. So now interestingly enough, we do see Drewbie's going to be getting a fast tech lab and a relatively fast factory, so that's what he's going to be doing with his gas. Which is kind of an interesting play because you don't see a lot of Terran players go for super fast factories in the TVP matchup, but it's becoming a little more common. Be interesting to see if he builds a Reaper or something. And actually going to lift that barrack, so going to be probably putting the factory over here on the tech lab. Could be for siege tanks, could be for Hellions. We'll have to wait and see which route he's going to decide to go. Getting a bunker up at the front of his base. So obviously going to be teching quite a bit in the early game. Wants to be safe. Has taken a double gas now, so definitely going to be teching extremely heavily. And we do see he is actually going to be going for the Blue Flame Hellion, starting the pre-igniter upgrade. First Hellion on the way. And it's very interesting that he's going this route just because the Blue Flame Hellions, I mean, obviously they're not the greatest against units like Stalkers. They're pretty decent against Zealots. Actually, they're really good against Zealots. But sentries and stuff can stop them from getting into the Protoss player's base, so would not be surprised to see, and yes, he is going to be doing it, throwing up a starport really fast. That'll make these Blue Flame Hellions tons more effective as he can then drop them into the base of Jemag. Interestingly enough, though, Jemag is going to be going for an extremely fast expansion. Just going to be going 2-gate and expand, and here comes the first Hellion, so he's going to give that away, and a really good force field goes down by Jemag. Going to clean up that Hellion. Very good force field placement by Jemag, cleaning that Hellion up, not letting it get into his base where it can do a lot of harassment to the probe line over here. So just going to be running off of 2 gateways early on. Going to try and get an economic advantage if he can. If he can get this base up, and Drewbie continues to one base for too long, definitely could put Drewbie way far behind and put Jemag way ahead, but it's really going to all depend on how much damage Drewbie can do with these Hellions. And the Blue Flame Hellion does finish, and now he needs to be careful though because he's actually mismanaging those Hellions a little bit. Allows the Stalkers to get a lot of hits in on them, and he has actually just sacrificed his bunker So a little bit of a tenuous situation here for Drewbie, because now with that bunker gong, he's got no way to stop this huge 2-gate push that J-Mags are doing. And now you see him actually pulling a couple of his workers off the line. Has a couple of those Hellions and Marines there, trying to throw down some barracks extremely quickly. And now here we go. J-Mags going to be moving up the ramp. Going to be trying to take out the forces and break Drewbie. Can Drewbie pulling more workers now, trying to use those workers to help kill off these units. J-Mag getting a lot of kills though on a lot of the workers. You see right now Drewbie losing a lot of them, but it does look like Drewbie is going to be able to hold against this push of J-Mag. J-Mag though is not giving up just yet, trying to move back forward, trying to pick off a couple of workers and units if he can. This is not where Drewbie wants to be. If we look at the workers killed right now, we see J-Mag's already killed 9 of Drewbie's workers, killed 13 of his units. Drewbie just at 5 and 1. This is not the position Drewbie wants to be in. Maybe a little bit surprised by that 2-gate aggression by J-Mag. Very smart play by J-Mag. We do see Drewbie does now finally have a medevac out, does have these extra barracks, is finally starting to go up, so that he can start producing some of the typical bio units that you do see in the Terran versus Protoss matchups. J-Mag even with the forward pylon here to scout either for drops or to help put some forward aggression on his opponent. If you look back at J-Mag's base here now, we do see that second base is up and running, is adding another gateway, also has the robotics facility up. Looks like he's going to be building a couple of Immortals. Immortals do extremely good against siege tanks, so I really do like that move by J-Mag, even starting his ground armor level 1. Also a very good choice. Getting the ground armor, a lot of times when you do see a Terran doing something that looks like a bio push with tanks, a lot of times the armor is a better choice, but we do see right now Drewbie is gearing up to try and do a drop into J-Mag's base. Has a medevac on the way, trying to creep its way across the back end of the map. Going to probably be trying to drop Drewbie's, or J-Mag, I should say, his natural in just a moment. So yes, that is going to be his plan. Here comes the medevac. Going to be dropping those blue flame Hellions, and J-Mag needs to react to this quickly, or he could lose a lot of his workers. See already a couple of workers going down. Looks like he just lost 3 or 4 workers, maybe even a 5th. Now here comes those Stalkers, and they are going to push back those Hellions. And the medevac just barely going to get away. 20 hit points left. Do see that J-Mag does have an observer over here spotting what Drewbie is up to. Has seen that Drewbie has not expanded yet. Drewbie's still one-basing extremely hard in these early stages of the game. Now probably gearing up to send out another drop. J-Mag will be aware that it has left Drewbie's base though, so he can prepare for where this drop is going. See over here at the top, Drewbie does have these other 2 Hellions just kind of chilling out near where J-Mag could potentially take a 3rd base. J-Mag though looking pretty stable, pretty strong right now. Has his +1 armor, now starting his +1 attack upgrades. Running off of 4 gateways, still producing some Immortals. So a pretty strong army getting made here by J-Mag. But we do see Drewbie actually going for a big push. But I can't help but wonder if this might just be a distraction. He does have this drop coming towards the back of J-Mag's main, and this force does not look like it can actually engage and take on the forces that J-Mag has, but he is going to actually attempt to do it. Pokes in the front, and J-Mag is going to push out now. Drewbie actually trying to back up, and in the meantime over here in the base we do see Drewbie has dropped those blue flame Hellions into the base. J-Mag reacting pretty quickly though, getting those forces moved out. Drewbie now retreating with that army in the front, so that's exactly what he was trying to do, just distract J-Mag from what he was doing at the front of his base, so that he could try and get some good damage done with these Hellions, and he is killing a lot of J-Mag's workers, but here comes those Stalkers. Picking off the medevac first. Now another drop over here at the natural, but J-Mag is ready for it. Bunch of Stalkers moving forward. Picks off the medevac once again. Now the rest of these Stalkers will be able to clean up the Hellions. We do see right now the Immortal cleans up that Hellion. If we look at the workers killed now, we do see, look at that, Drewbie has killed 25 of J-Mag's workers with the blue flame Hellions. So Drewbie getting a ton of harassment done with those blue flame Hellions, killing a lot of J-Mag's workers. But if we look at the income tab right now, we can actually say J-Mag is still ahead, 27 to just the 23 workers of Drewbie. So despite all that harassment that Drewbie was doing, J-Mag still actually in the lead with the worker count, which means he will still have a slightly better economy than will Drewbie. And he's got a huge army, and he is starting to push out now. A couple of Immortals that'll be really good against siege tanks and Marauders. Bunch of Stalkers, even a Sentry or 2, and then a lot of Zealots. We do see right now J-Mag does have the +1 attack nearly finished up. Does already have the +1 armor, but it looks like J-Mag has spotted this expansion going up, and he wants to hit Drewbie before he can actually get this expansion online. because Drewbie is not going to have as many forces as Jemag right now, but as soon as he can get that expansion up, it will allow Drewbie to catch up quite a bit. We do see Drewbie even just now starting to produce ghosts, but he's not going to have them in time, which is going to be huge for this battle. And now we do see Drewbie trying to hold here. Jemag is going to be pushing forward. Guardian shields and force fields going up. Really good force field will trap all these forces down here by his expansion. Won't be able to retreat to the main base. And right now, Drewbie's forces are actually dwindling. We see Jemag getting a lot of kills, pushing forward. Drewbie trying to hold as much as he can. Has those medevacs healing his units, but not that many units left for Drewbie. And it looks like Jemag might actually be able to break Drewbie here. Those force fields do go down. That allows Drewbie to retreat up this ramp. Here finally comes the first ghost, but he does not actually have the Mobius reactor. And Drewbie loses his base, forced to GG out of game 1. And Jemag is going to take game number 1 and go up 1-0 over Drewbie. So that's going to be it for game number 1, guys. I'll be coming back to you guys with game number 2 in just a moment. Make sure to subscribe to Mods Online's YouTube, and I will see you guys at the next